I so love this bit. Debt elimination. You've done all the hard work. Now we can get to paying off that credit card once and for all. It's not hard. In fact, it's a lot of fun now that you've done the hard work. In this tutorial, I am going to share with you a simple but very effective strategy that I've used for 15 years with hundreds and hundreds of clients. This strategy is called the debt snowball. You'll understand why as we get stuck into it. So let's get going. To demonstrate the debt elimination strategy, I will continue on with our case study of Dean and Emma. So just to recap, Dean and Emma are now living to a budget. They have a sustainable monthly surplus on their 2 pay months and an average monthly surplus of over $1,000. Over a 5-month period, they built their central working account up so that it now matches what their budget says they need. That is that first pool of funds that they now have full so that their surplus can start overflowing. And by the end of month 6, they had a rainy day fund of $3,500 in place thanks to Dan's 3 pay month. As long as they continue to stick to their budget, they now have all their future expenses covered, and they have a buffer for those unexpected expenses and emergencies. So from here on, they can focus all their surplus funds at aggressively paying down debt. Let's look at the proven strategy they have used to achieve this. There are 8 simple tasks involved in this debt snowball. I will list them all now and then discuss them in greater detail. Start by listing all of your debts. Arrange your debts from smallest to largest and reduce your payments on each loan to the absolute minimum. Starting with the smallest debt first, focus all of your surplus funds at this one debt. Draw up a plan to identify how long it will take you to pay off each debt and then stick it on the fridge. And finally, identify the day that you will be debt-free. That is the day that your credit card debt is finally paid off. The first 3 of these tasks are preparation for putting together your debt elimination plan, and I will cover these in detail in this tutorial. The next 5 tasks relate to building your debt elimination plan and staying focused on that plan, and I will cover these in our next tutorial. The first task is to identify all of your debts. You will notice that I have capitalized and underlined the word all. This is because you need to list all of your debts. Anywhere that you owe money needs to be included on this list, even if it's just a loan from grandma. It can be scary to face up to all your debts, but having them on one page can be therapeutic. Actually knowing how bad your situation is a good thing, because reality is so often kinder than our overactive imagination, which can tend to catastrophize things. So here we have the list of Dean and Emma's debts: the mortgage, the honeymoon loan, the car loan, the Visa card, and the Go MasterCard. You'll notice that against each debt, they have written both their current payments that they're actually making and the minimum payment required by the lender. The next step is a simple one. List your debts from smallest to largest. For Dean and Emma, this meant that the Go MasterCard of $1,600 was the first on the list and the mortgage was the last on the list. The third step is to reduce the payments on all your loans to the absolute minimum. Now, the minimum is the smallest amount that you can pay on each debt without incurring any additional penalties, without incurring any additional interest, and without the balance owing on that loan increasing. The purpose of reducing your repayments to the minimum is so that you can maximize your surplus funds so that you can be more deliberate and targeted in the way you use those funds. Now, paying the minimum is like treading water, so you should only do it if you have a plan in place, a plan for how you are going to proactively use those surplus funds. Looking back at Dean and Emma's situation, when they first came to see me, they were using what I call the scattergun approach to paying off debt, throwing little bits of extra money at each debt at once. They were paying $1,000 per fortnight off their mortgage instead of the $887 per fortnight required. And they were paying an extra $70 off the Go MasterCard and an extra $125 off the Visa card. In all, they were paying $434 more than they needed to off these debts. Now, while this isn't a bad thing, I have rarely seen this scattergun approach work, especially if you don't have a budget in place to manage your spending in the first place. So part of the process I took Dean and Emma through when setting up their budget and trying to establish a surplus was to deliberately reduce their payments to the absolute minimum. I also discussed with Dean and Emma the option of going interest only on their home loan for a period of time. This would have freed up another $788 to focus on their higher interest debt. However, in Dean and Emma's case, we did not go interest only on the home loan. They had very little equity in their home, and a big chunk of their mortgage was locked in a fixed rate, which meant that any changes would have been costly in terms of bank fees. And they felt that they'd identified a good enough surplus to get going with to achieve their goals. Now, going interest only on your home loan can be a really effective strategy if you have a lot of high interest debt. You are far better off aggressively paying down credit cards and personal debt, which can charge anywhere from 10% to 27% interest, than you are paying off your mortgage at 4.5%. However, this interest-only strategy does not suit everybody, and quite rightly, the banks are starting to crack down on interest-only loans. So a quick word of caution. Please do not go interest only on your home loan or consolidate debts or reduce the repayments on your loans unless you are successfully living to a budget and have a purposeful plan in place to eliminate debt. You need to start by changing the habits that cause you to be in debt in the first place, and then you can consider strategies like debt consolidation and interest only. Now that Dean and Emma have listed all of their debts from smallest to largest and have reduced their debt repayments to the absolute minimum, they are in a fantastic position to build a debt repayment plan. And that is the focus of our next tutorial. I'm sorry to leave you hanging there. Dean and Emma are so close to turning it all around, and I'm hoping so are you, having followed the steps so far. We've now covered the first 3 steps of the debt snowball, with 5 more to go in the next tutorial. But for now, you've got some homework to do. Yes, you got it. Firstly, list all of your debts. Secondly, list them from smallest to largest. And then I want you to go through and identify the minimum payment you have to make on each debt. So there's your homework. Get stuck into it, and in the next tutorial, we'll see how Dean and Emma finish it off.